yet I'm helpless by the river. Angel, angel, what have I done? A face that quakes, the wind, the fire. I've conquered country, crown and throne. Why can't I cross this river? Angel, angel, what have I done? A face that quakes, the wind, the fire. I've conquered country, crown and throne. Why can't I cross this river? Pay no mind to the battles you've won. It will take a lot more than rage and muscle. Open your heart and hands, my son, or you'll never make it over the river. It'll take a lot more than words and guns, a whole lot more than riches and muscle. The hands of the many must join as one, and together we'll cross the river. It'll take a lot more than words and guns, a whole lot more than riches and muscle. The hands of the many must join as one, and together we'll cross the river. Nature, nurture, heaven. It'll take a lot more than words and guns, a whole lot more than riches and muscle. Conquer every mountain. The hands of the many must join as one, and together we'll cross the river. Brave the forest, it'll take a lot more than words and guns. Brave the icy winds, a whole lot more than riches and muscle. Brave can be them all. The hands of the many must join as one, and together we'll cross the river. And together we'll cross the river. And together we'll cross the river. Nature, nurture, heaven and home. And together we'll cross the river. Nature, nurture, heaven and home. And together we'll cross the river.
video is not intended for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, Nick and I would like to announce our 2020 production schedule. You can tune in every Monday and Thursday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time for our regularly scheduled broadcasts. Our productions include EBN Presents, which covers weekly hot topics, Nick's Takes, which tackles relative dramatic events and YouTube controversies. Lessons from Coach is our show that focuses on righting the wrongs in the media today. We will also continue our stop-motion animated series called Echo Base Adventures. We are currently working on our next feature film project and greatly look forward to its release. Finally, we hope that you join us on our weekly live stream called Why We Love Star Wars, every Saturday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. This is a home for all fans who love Star Wars in any capacity. And, as always, we are, you are, Echo Base Network, and we are out. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming by Echo Base Network. A very special thank you to all of our subscribers. You make us who we are. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we greatly appreciate your consideration. Please make sure, whether you subscribed or not, that you hit that like button and you comment below. We would love to engage with you in that way. Thank you guys so much. Echo Base Network is proud to announce that we have launched our official website, echobasenetwork.com. There, you will be able to find the latest information, news, our merch store, future projects information, and much more. What are you waiting for? Head over there and be sure to add it to your bookmarks today. After all, you never know what you may find.
Ready to spread good vibes?
Spread that word.
Around the world.
Around the world.
Around the world.
Around the world.
Around the world. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. Hey, hey,
takes my eye, I lift my head, blinded by the sky, feel my way in front, following the sound, it moves away so fast.
If loving coach is wrong, I don't want to be right. If loving coach is wrong,
Network has a new channel just for live streaming, right? We got to get over there, guys, and check them out, because you never know what's going to happen over there.
Will Mexican Ironman ever shut up?
Now let me ask you this, Coach. The tournament goes
I'm leaving my post, and I'm heading to Echo Base Network Live right now.
Echo Base Network family. As always, I'm the coach. He is Nicholas Glenn. You are Echo Base Network, and we are out.
See you on the next one.
And welcome back. Welcome. I am the coach, and wow, we have got a great lineup today. We have Nick is going to be joining us momentarily, and we have our co-host Mexican Ironman, and we have a guest host TD15169. Am I quiet? Is it me? Give me a little bit more feedback, Rob, and I'll make sure that I can get that fixed. You know what? Let me see. You sound a bit low on volume, so let me see if I can get that fixed really quick for everybody. Oh, yes, I can. And how about now? This ought to be way... Oh, yeah. I know this is better. I can see the volumes going up and down. Let me know. I am going to wait. All right, good. Very, very good. All right, so... my ears. All right, well, hail to everyone who is here. I want to welcome our contributors tonight to the chat, which is TD15169, Mexican Ironman, and Nicholas Glenn, and myself here. I want to say thanks to Mark, the Infinitely Tired, for stopping by. He'll be watching the stream later, so Mark, we appreciate you coming by and liking what we've got going on here. Lori Roberts, hail to you, ma'am. We are glad that you are in the house as well. Our brother J-Man is here. J-Man, I know that you're going to enjoy this article that we're about to go through. Your comments are greatly looked forward to. Let's see. Rob Pearson, our brother from across the big pond. How are you doing, sir? We are glad you are here as always. What's his face, Mech? What not? You are the man, brother. We are glad that you are here. I'm going to be very, very careful and try to not make any mistakes so I don't get pounded on by what's-his-face McWhatnot. Love you, man. Let's see. I think that's about everybody. If I'm leaving you out, Lady Mist. Hail to Lady Mist. Almost left you off there. I'm very sorry for that. All right, so with all that being said, we're going to go ahead before we bring on our guest and play the next episode of Mexican Ironman in Self-Contemplation. Here we go.
Mexican Ironman's here. I'm back home again.
Hell to the chat. It's such an awesome thing to finally be here without any electronic interference.
Are you missing Nick, Coach? Are you missing Nick? I'm here. I'm back. Haven't you missed me? The prodigal son has returned to Echo Base Network. Didn't you miss me? What?
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm trying to ask you if you missed me or not.
I didn't miss you, Iron Man.
Yes, I missed you. Yes, I missed you.
About Coach.
All right.
You didn't miss me?
So, yes, what I was saying to the chat was you guys see that 3 of these boxes are filled, and one box this one happens to be empty, and that is totally my life. Mr. Reliable right there. Totally used to this. This is 32 years of being his friend. Like,
are you talking about Nick?
Yes.
You talking about Nick?
Yeah. All right. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear TD 15169 and Mexican Iron Man. So if you'll just give me a yes, I would greatly appreciate that.
Hey, comms check. Can anybody hear me?
Comms check. Brown Hawk 1 to White Eagle. Are you there? Brown Hawk 1 to White Eagle Base.
White Eagle?
White Eagle Base. That's good.
You know, when you do the War Eagle caw thing, nobody from Auburn does caw. We're the Auburn Tigers, even though we say War Eagle.
War Eagle.
We say War Eagle, but the tiger is our mascot.
You just said War Eagle again.
It's just, yeah. Okay.
The subject. If loving Nick is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I don't know. Look, maybe I should just call Nick live right here.
No, maybe we should just move on with the show. And Nick, when he's done, Nick's a busy guy. He's like, doing his appearances all over the Fandom Minute. So, Nick will be here when Nick will be here. That's all you got to worry about.
He just texted. All right. He'll be here soon.
Well, hey, I might as well introduce myself to the chat. I know you've all seen me on there typing up. That picture you see in my little avatar, that is actually me. I'm a member of the 501st, and I've been a member for about 2 years. And that is actually me in my suit. That was actually taken during a Lucasfilm shoot in studio in San Diego a couple of years ago. They were doing some promotional video and audio picture stuff, and that's actually a frame from one of the shots that I was able to do there. So, howdy, chat. I date myself. I did see Star Wars when in 1977 I was 7 years old, and it was life changing to say the least.
Well, man, we're very glad that you're here with us, here live. Well, I know that we've tried before and weren't able to pull it off. So yes, we are, and we're looking forward to you sharing a whole lot more of your story in the near future. We're actually, just for the people in the chat, we're doing a Why We Love Star Wars special on many of our subscribers and our people, our Echo Base Network family. And TD 15169 is part of that family, and he's going to share his story. And it is very, very rich, and it's quite possibly going to be a 2-episode story. Like we're still kind of looking at that. So
no pressure, no pressure.
No
right?
pressure, but it's going to be like every story we've done on our people has just been phenomenal. Like such a pleasure to do. From Loki and Rob and just everybody. It's been, I don't know, that's just something that I really enjoy doing is because it makes me feel like a whole lot of togetherness with our community here. So, and we want that.
Yeah, that's the best thing about Star Wars as a whole. It kind of transcends race, gender, or at least it did. The OT did. I don't know about that new stuff, but I can tell you that the people I've interacted with since becoming a member of the 501st, it's pretty awesome. And then the people I've had the opportunity to meet. And the one thing I can say is that, we all have a love for Star Wars, regardless of all the, political or race and stuff like that. And that's been very, very, very nice, actually.
Well, Mexican Iron Man, what have you been up to?
First thing I was up to when I got back home to my my condo here at Echo Base Network is I noticed my keys didn't work and the locks were changed.
Oh my gosh!
So I went and paid my rent. I guess it didn't direct deposit out. I mean, I was starting to get my feelings hurt, Coach. Like I was like, what? Did they move someone else in? What?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But we got that settled up. No, I've definitely finished the process of getting all the SBA loan applications done. Our crew nationally identified a ton of money, $611 million that we took out of the big corporations and got back to small business. I'm trying to get a regular schedule going, get back to things. I told you last night I finished my edits for the documentary that we're doing.
Yes.
And then because they're extending this thing that we shall not name online or discuss, what I'm talking about. I've extended the deadline.
Voldemort.
I've extended the deadline for the writing competition by 15 days to June 15th. So everything's the same except I'm extending the deadline to June 15th.
June 15th.
June 15th. And we've already got a stack of really interesting short story competition submissions. There's some pretty interesting ones in there. Really interesting.
All right.
I have a lot better quality than what we've seen from Star Trek Disgracery and Star Wars fuckery from Lucasfilms.
Yeah. Oh. I hear you. Well, speaking of, that's kind of be what we get into. Let me go ahead and transition.
Am I still here? Hey, Coach, they're saying they can hear me, but they can't hear you or Mexican Army. Thank you, chat, for keeping us sane.
Yep. Sorry about that, guys. I just reinstalled Windows yesterday on this machine. So all of these settings and everything in this broadcasting software, I've got to go back through and make sure it's all correct and all that. So,
all right, Coach, they're saying they can hear you, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Mexican Iron Man, I'm not sure if he's...
I think he disappeared.
Yeah, we might have lost him. All right, you're muted.
Yeah, I see.
Muted, Mexican Iron Man.
Yeah, he's muted.
All right. So... All right.
I'm not muted.
There he is.
Now I can hear you. I don't know what you did. Now I can hear you.
I just turned my mic off because I had to blow my nose because I got allergies.
Oh, okay.
So as to not take away from the outstanding article. Press on, Captain. Press on.
Mexican
All right.
Iron
So
Man.
can you guys hear TD? I want to make sure that you can.
Check. You guys hear me?
I'm not. I don't think that they can.
God voice.
It's okay. This is.
Type a 3 in the chat if you can hear TD.
So the funny thing about me, Mexican Iron Man, is that we are in the same time zone. He's actually not that far away from me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny, right?
Yeah.
All right. You're like right up the road from me, actually. Now all I see is a Skype logo.
Yeah. Technical difficulties here at Echo Base Network. I'm starting to break out into a sweat.
That never happens with us. It never happens.
Yeah, really. Oh, my goodness. All right, so I need to...
Don't worry, there's only 8 people online, and 4 of them are us, so...
I know. All right, so we're good. Oh!
Uh-oh.
We got somebody else here.
Don't lose them.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
What's going on, guys?
It's Nick. Hey, Nick.
Can everybody hear Nick? Let us know.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Finally. How you been, brother?
Good. Just been running around all day. Just got home, fed the dogs, and had to clean up dog mess. So that's why I'm just now getting on here.
Yeah, you're like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. That was like 35 minutes ago.
Yeah.
He's doing military. He's doing the military.
Leave Nick alone. I love Nick.
Yeah.
Hashtag love Nick forever.
Yeah, I had to get the carpet cleaner out, the vacuum cleaner out, get some hot water going. Like, yeah, it's a mess.
All right, chat's saying they can hear all 4 of us, which is awesome.
All right. Well, very, very good. All right, guys, we got an article here that we're going to go through. And like I was saying, we were going to do a Why We Love Star Wars on it, but then I thought, this would just be a really good thing to discuss. So it says, what future Star Wars trilogies can learn from past mistakes? And the part that really grabbed me was past mistakes. What are they talking about? Are they talking about recent past mistakes or past mistakes from a long time ago? And some of us have talked about this, like TD15169 just mentioned Taika Waititi and the upcoming Star Wars movies just a few minutes ago while we were in the back room.
Well, while we were waiting, I didn't even watch the Mandalorian featurette. I'm afraid if I watch it and they say something like insanity, I'm gonna lose it.
Real quick, I know why we only got 9 people in here, because notifications didn't go out for our live stream.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I have to almost go right to the Echo Base Network live sometimes.
There shouldn't be an echo now. Yeah. All voices gone again?
Yeah, the chat's telling us, okay, now we're back. Some pesky gremlins. Minox in the system.
Yeah. So I don't know. Everybody do a mic check real quick. If this works, then I have it and we're good.
All right, mic check.
Mic check for Nick.
Yeah.
I hear you, Nick. I hear you.
Mexican check for Mexicans all around the world. And
I swear, if it wasn't for Mexican Iron Man, I told him that we should just be using StreamYard and not be doing this dang Wirecast stuff. But he doesn't listen.
Wow, that's real funny.
Wow. All right.
Well, Coach, I think anyone who's been on Echo Base Network for a while will know that when an idea of common sense and logic is brought out, it's going to be Mexican Iron Man's idea, not Coach's.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the article.
And lovely, and a high production value, and interesting lyrics that tie into the next Mexican Iron Man video. Then yeah, that's one person like fucking with the tortillas and make a tamale and a tortilla link up together. That's what that is.
All right. I think I might have just taken care of the echo too.
They keep
Mike's
saying
still
me and Iron.
echoing.
Yeah, they're saying me and Iron Man have some kind of crazy.
I think I just took care of it though.
Okay.
You were echoing?
Well,
yeah, but it's totally like all these things were fixed, and then I reinstalled Windows, and these are like little settings that you've got to go through. And if we had all been here, earlier,
I showed up and called you when you told me to call you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I need us all. I need everybody. It takes us all. One person coming in can make the whole. The whole echo thing happen. Like,
hey, they don't call us Echo Base Network for nothing. So
yeah.
Right. The only way that would happen is if Echo Base Network catered the event. That's the only way that would happen.
So yes, all right. We can make a whole show out of this.
Mexican Iron Man happy. How are we going to make 100 subs happy?
Oh my gosh! All right. Well, here we go.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Are y'all ready to jump into this article? I am.
Yes, please.
There is no echo anymore. Everything's good. We're ready to go.
Yep.
All right. So, Taika Waititi. And look, I'm going to read this, and I'm going to let you guys just shoot off of each other. Nick, we'll start with you, but it's going to start back in the past. And, again, it's about what kind of failures Star Wars has had that they can learn from that will help Star Wars in the future. So, it says Taika Waititi will direct and co-write a new Star Wars film for theaters, but it's unclear if it will be a standalone movie or the start of a new trilogy. We don't know what exactly Lucasfilm has planned for Waititi's project, but if it will indeed carry on the Star Wars tradition of trilogy, the best we can hope is that it learns from the past franchise's mistakes. None of the Star Wars trilogies, not even the original, were completely planned out and written before their first movies were filmed. George Lucas originally had a general idea for 12 episodes, which quickly became 9, as well as a broad outline of the story for each trilogy. But he didn't have scripts for all 3 movies beforehand. The Empire Strikes Back was written after A New Hope, and it ended with Han Solo and Carbonite because it wasn't a guarantee Harrison Ford would be back for the next film. One more paragraph. That right-as-you-go approach did create some problems, notably with Luke and Leia. Return of the Jedi's revelation, they are twins, still feels forced. It also retroactively created one of the most awkward kisses in movie history. So, Nick, I'll let you share first comment there about some of the problems with the original trilogy. And we lost Nick, so I'll move to Mexican Iron Man. Like, share, and subscribe. All right. Well, TD, what do you think about the whole brother-sister thing? And I like the right-as-you-go approach, them calling that.
went back and started looking at that treatment for the next upcoming films. And again, it was because they didn't know what was going to happen. And he originally went over there because he felt like, oh my gosh, this is going to flop. And then it took off, and then I don't think anybody really knew what was going to happen. So, yeah. And then the Rise As You Go approach. Again, it wasn't really, they did the whole Luke and Leia as brother and sister. I wouldn't say it was like a last minute edit, but it was definitely put in there because they had to close up Return of the Jedi. And I'm sure most of the chat knows as well, it was to be, Return of the Jedi was supposed to be like two separate movies. The first part being, let's go get Han away from Jabba the Hutt. And then the second one, then they decided to combine the two. That's why it has two pretty much separate acts. Of course, with the first act being rescue Han and the second one attacking the Death Star.
Right. Yes. So, Nick, were you able to hear everything that we said?
Nope.
All right.
My freaking internet. The AT&T sending me a new router, which isn't going to do jack squat, but I'm going to try it out and be like, all right, y'all's crap is still messed up. So, I just had to switch to a cell phone MiFi device on my computer.
Right. Well, Nick, the article opens up talking about a right-as-you-go approach, that even George Lucas did that, and you could see some of that with the problems such as Luke and Leia and their relationship and the little romance that they had between each other, like in Empire or whatever,
Right.
And how...
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm completely okay with, and it happens all the time in the film industry. You basically have a core storyline, and as you're going through the filming process, there might happen to be changes that you end up making. Mm-hmm. And George wrote, from my understanding from interviews and everything, he basically had the core story written, and as he was filming them and stuff, he made changes, but the main storyline from start to finish was there. So I mean, the right as you go is, pretty much everybody does that. But the difference between that and, say, what Disney did, where they just wrote one part and had nothing moving forward, and was like, basically said, all right, now you write the second part. And then we're going to get another director and he can do his part. No, I think that's stupid.
And the way J.J. Abrams in his mystery box doesn't lend itself well to other directors coming in, because if you don't tell them what's in the mystery box or where to go with that mystery box, I think that's kind of what led to what we got with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, and apparently JJ told Ryan some key stuff about moving forward, but Ryan apparently threw it out the window.
Yeah, we know how that went, right? Exactly. Yeah. Hey, just real quick though, so to kind of clarify where I've gotten a lot of my information on the core Star Wars. There's a really good book, if you guys haven't picked it up, called The Secret History of Star Wars. And it has a lot of interviews with Lucas and a lot of people associated with the original production, all the way up to the Return of the Jedi. If you guys ever want to check that out, it's quite enlightening.
What's it called?
It's called The Secret History of Star Wars.
The Secret History of Star Wars. I'm going to type that up in my browser.
Yeah, it's on audiobook too. It's actually really, really enlightening. So,
I actually have audiobook. And I think I have a free credit for a free book.
It's definitely worth a listen, because again, it does quote a lot of the original production things, and yeah. I mean, at least Lucas did have an idea going in. With this sequel trilogy, it was just fly by the seat of your pants, and then when you let somebody go in there and just discredit, or pretty much just throw out everything J.J. Abrams had built with the Force Awakens, it just turned into a theatrical mess, for lack of a better term.
Yep, I just found it. I don't know if you can see the screen, but
The Secret History of Star Wars. That's awesome.
Mm.
All right. Well, let's move on. It says not having a definitive story. Actually, you know what, Nick? I noticed that Rob Pearson said something kind of similar to what you were saying. It was right as you go, but at least he had an outline of where he was going, unlike today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The outline from start to finish for all those movies was there. It was in place. He had his ideas in his head, you know. And
Right.
yeah, maybe Vader wasn't originally gonna be Luke's father, you know. Maybe Luke and Leia weren't originally brother and sister, but as they were going through the filming, he tweaked the story, you know, to what was going on and decided to make changes. I know his wife had a lot of input on that original trilogy.
Oh,
No, his wife saved the original cut of A New Hope. In the edit, because when he had originally sit down and shown that to all his film buddies, Spielberg and Coppola and all that, they were like, "Whoa."
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
I've watched that documentary on the saving of Star Wars in the editing bay.
All right, so not having a definitive story mapped out may have only created minor bumps for the original trilogy, but that approach really hurt the sequels. J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens was well received by most critics and was a huge hit with fans, but neither he nor anyone at Lucasfilm plotted out the next two beats of the larger story. That's what you were just saying, Nick. And no one guided the trilogy the way Lucas did after A New Hope. Rian Johnson wasn't handed a plan or an outline for what was supposed to come next. He just picked up Episode 8 where Abrams left off and took the story where he wanted. The result was a movie that in some spots felt divorced from its predecessor. I absolutely love The Last Jedi and don't like The Force Awakens, but even I think Johnson's script makes The Force Awakens look worse for spending so much time on issues that ultimately felt inconsequential in The Last Jedi. The pitfalls of the sequel trilogy's unplanned approach were there was never an overarching framework for where the story was going. That's a lot of wheres. Really came to a head in J.J. Abrams' The Rise of Skywalker. It retcons, some even say ruins, a lot of The Last Jedi, and it doesn't work as a third part of a final act of a trilogy. It feels like its own trilogy crammed into one overstuffed, weirdly paced film. It's interesting that somebody who likes The Last Jedi is kind of saying that the sequel trilogy failed by not having a plan. Thoughts?
Well, most of the people that were fans of The Last Jedi actually are in agreement with most of us that, you know, doesn't like the trilogy, because most of The Last Jedi fans are cringing at Rise of Skywalker because it pretty much they retroacted The Last Jedi, and then the Rise of Skywalker just, you know, retcons the whole trilogy as a whole. So I'm not surprised. And you know, I was going to point out in that first paragraph, like, what were they doing at Lucasfilms during their like planning meetings? I mean, I'm in the military, and I will tell you that if you don't have a plan, it's going to fail. So where was the voice of reason? Where was the guy that raised his hand and said, "Hey, you know, maybe we need to talk about some sequel stuff here"?
See, and I think that goes back to something really important that Mark Hamill said in an interview where he said, "Kids, it's not about quality; it's about if it makes money." And Disney just bought.
TD said that 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, I literally said that 15 minutes ago, and
when I got disconnected.
No, it was actually in our pre-show when we were discussing everything backstage.
Oh, okay.
And it's such a true that Hollywood just maybe they're going to get it now with the thing that won't be named. That's kind of showing everybody's tail end on how things are going, because you know everything's spectacle over story now, and you go to a movie and the special effects. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, you know, they all look amazing, but there's no story. It's just a bunch of scenes. A lot of people say about the pacing in Rise of Skywalker. It's just like watching a 2-hour trailer where you got like, hey, I got to go get this, you know, MacGuffin, or as Mahler likes to say, McMuffin, right? Which is hilarious. But let's get this McMuffin and go to point A to point B, and then and then everybody that dies doesn't die, and the whole deal with 3PO. I mean, trust me, Anthony Daniels did a great job. And he had that scene, and it just drives me crazy. Again, I'm gonna get a little upset here, but like having one last look at my friends, and it's none of the people he had seen before in the previous two movies.
Yeah.
And then he just gets rebooted by R2, and it's like, next cutscene. And I'm telling you right now, that was so hard to sit through. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I've only seen The Last Jedi once in a theater and Rise of Skywalker once in a theater, and I just can't do it. I can't do it because you're just sitting there, and it's just like, the throwaway line with Palpatine, the whole the dark side of the Force, some consider unnatural, from when he talked about it in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just no explanation. Originally, what I heard, though, it was supposed to be I can't remember who it is. It was one of the Rebels bad guys that they were going to initially use, but Lucas or Disney was afraid that because nobody knew who that was, it wouldn't go over well in the theater, and they went with Palpatine instead. I don't know. Maybe the chat knows more about that than I do, but I had heard they were using another character, I think, from Rebels. But again, they weren't sure enough people would know who that was.
There were so many theories that I can't even remember them at this point.
And then the theory of where they were writing scripts to avoid the Doomcock and other release notes. So if it was already in the movie, then they were writing new shit to avoid the leaks.
Yes.
As a way to follow the plot. I'm like, what the hell? Come on, you people.
You can't see him, folks, but he is here. He is here.
Yeah, I am here.
All right, good. We love it when you're here.
I like the Emperor's line where he's talking about things being unnatural, because that's how I feel about this entire sequel trilogy.
And that's such a great line in Revenge of the Sith too. When he's sitting there, he's talking to Anakin, and they're building this. We already know where it's going to, but they're building it up. Even though we knew he's going to become Darth Vader, even though we knew that was going to happen, because of the way. I mean, like him or hate him, the prequels, there's a lot of good story building in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was able just to carry that on, and even though we knew it was going to happen, that's in my opinion, that's one of the best scenes in the whole movie, when he's sitting there at that space opera and him and Anakin are talking. It's one of the best scenes.
The best way I like to describe the prequels is good story, poor execution.
Exactly.
Or copycat story, poor execution.
Copycat story on the prequels? Did I say sequels?
No, you said prequels. Did. I thought you said prequels.
So explain that a little bit. That's interesting to me. You said good story, poor execution.
Yeah.
If I didn't really understand where you're going with that, how would you explain that?
Because so you give George Lucas all this brand new technology, and he kind of went overboard with it, because none of the clone troopers in that whole thing are real. They're all CGI, every one of them, and it doesn't have that visceral feel that the original trilogy had. It was almost too clean. It was almost too perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of like Mexican Ironman.
I have a hard time wrapping my mind around that phrase. This is why I'm asking. It's very interesting to me. Good story, poor execution.
Yeah, so the story there from start to finish, the core story. Take out all the fluff, all the special effects, all the weird dialogue and crap like that, and the story there from start to finish is solid. The execution of telling that story from start to finish with all the special effects, the dialogue, the acting, everything else was poorly executed. I say if you gave
so you just need a couple more words in there to make it really. I see what you're saying. It's not the story that's the problem. It's other things.
Yeah. The core story from start to
finish. The story was executed.
Yeah.
And, I understand. Okay. Because that's like a really important word for coach. Something that that's what I used to tell my teams, is that basketball is not a game of highlights It's a game of simplicity and execution. And the team that executes the best, victory favors them. So,
well, yeah, victory favors the prepared, right?
That's exactly right.
It's just like this, I mean, you look at the original Star Wars or New Hope. I mean, nobody knew it. I mean, I can't say nobody knew what they were doing, but they were so just, nobody knew what they were doing. I mean, like they're building this stuff from scratch. Just how did we do this? We're just making it up as we go, as far as the special effects. And now, because all that stuff is so we take that for granted. A lot of times, I think the story suffers because of that in the modern movies. And like what Nick was saying, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like the prequels. I can sit through them. I've really enjoyed the lightsaber action, which is just totally epic. And that was like so lacking in the sequel stuff. I mean, it was the choreographed type stuff in the sequel was garbage. Mm-hmm. But at least they had a plan. Lucas had a plan.
I like the way Doomcock described it in one of his videos. He said it's two people just sitting there banging their sticks together. And if you watch the choreography of it, that's exactly what's happening. One's coming up and the other one is, instead of trying to go for the body or go somewhere else, they're going at each other's lightsabers. So it's the banging of the plastic toys all over in the sequel.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, I teach what's called Katori Shinto-ryu, which is a Japanese sword art. Mm-hmm. And one thing that's you're always targeting something. And in the prequels, I think Mr. Nick Gillard did all the choreographing for it. Mm-hmm. Those guys are moving. I mean, they practice that, in like a kata. And when Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are going at it, I mean, they practice that for a long time. And they're actually targeting, and it just looks just amazing. I mean, I think of all the fight scenes aside, that's my favorite. And then, of course, the one with Anakin and Obi-Wan at the last Revenge of the Sith was just epic.
I think those are the best lightsaber battles throughout all three trilogies.
But the thing is, the actors put the time into it. I mean, Daisy Ridley and the guy who played Kylo Ren, what's his name? Escapes me.
God, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
That's why we all forget it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like they didn't. It's just like, okay, we're going to do this, and they just didn't put the time into it, and they're just there phoning it in, and it's very, very apparent too. So
yeah, I agree. The prequels had from top to bottom the best lightsaber duels, period.
Yeah,
of any of the trilogies. Well, the article continues. This is where you guys will probably be breathing some fire. It says, even if you love all three films, it's hard to argue, talking about the sequel trilogy, it's hard to argue they make for one unified saga. That's true even if you only look at the two Abrams episodes. Imagine The Last Jedi doesn't exist. Palpatine's return still doesn't make sense from when you rewatch The Force Awakens because neither Abrams nor Johnson laid the groundwork for his return. There's not a single clue in the first two movies Palpatine was behind everything, because at the time they were made, he wasn't. However, one person in charge of the story didn't necessarily work for the prequel trilogy. George Lucas wrote and directed all three films, knowing he wanted it to begin and where it had to finish. The result is a far more coherent story. The prequel trilogy has a unified vision and voice with unique new looks and themes about the galaxy far, far away. Yet despite all of those advantages over the sequels, many considered the prequel trilogy the biggest disappointment of the three.
What?
I
because he had complete creative control.
Hold on, Shaniqua. What?
Yeah, I disagree too.
Well, let's finish the thought here, and then y'all chime in.
That's not a thought. That's heresy. What?
It says, yet despite all of those advantages over the sequels, many considered the prequel trilogy the biggest disappointment of the three because he had, Lucas, creative control. The mistakes Lucas made and The Phantom Menace were never filtered through fresh eyes. There was no new perspective, and the flaws of the first film were still there throughout the next two movies, and it's not like that's an issue unique to George Lucas. The Dark Knight Rises and Spider-Man 3 also prove that sometimes a story needs a different perspective to maximize its potential. Go.
So, okay. All right, so Phantom Menace, right? Midi-chlorians, Jar Jar. Okay, I get that, right? I would disagree with that because, again, even though, so they brought in the Christopher Lloyd character, Darth Sidious, correct? To replace Jar Jar, from what I understand. And then, of course, the whole midi-chlorians, it was talked about in the Phantom Menace, and then we never heard hardly anything mentioned of it again. So I would disagree with that. I mean, The Phantom Menace, though it does have its flaws, I would not say that it carried over in the next two films.
All right. I'm going to have to. I'll be right back. Y'all just carry it on. TD, if you.
I hated the prequels when they came out successively, but I'll tell you, the years that gone by, I don't think there's anything I hate about them. Shit, I even like Jar Jar now.
Well, yeah, compared to this sequel trilogy, Jar Jar's not so bad.
He's not. I mean, hell, I was ready to adopt him and bring him into the house, get him a dog tag, take him to animal care for shots.
Yeah.
No.
I would much rather watch 3 trilogy movies on Jar Jar than watch that sequel trilogy again.
I just, Nick, I just can't do it. Like I was telling Coach, I just can't sit. I can't start The Last Jedi.
I took my 6-year-old to the last one. I fell asleep and stayed asleep during the whole movie. I was out by like minute 20.
Oh, if Coach was still here, he would tell you when we went and saw The Rise of Skywalker, when Daisy Ridley, Rey, and Kylo Ren were fighting on the wreckage of the Death Star. I was over there sleeping, and he had to like elbow me and wake me up. That's how uninterested I was in watching that movie.
It just wasn't cohesive. It was just cutscene, and no story. I just,
It's a bad day when you have to have press releases for 2 or 3 weeks after the movie's been out to explain what the ending was.
Well, and to echo that, Mexican Iron Man, you shouldn't have to go to a movie or read a series of books prior to going to see a movie. That tells you that the story is not coherent, where they have to like retcon through books stuff that wasn't brought up in the movie.
Yeah, or play rounds of Fortnite to understand what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of heard about that too. Wow.
Hey, someone's knocking on my door. I'll be right back. Hold on.
All right.
But yeah, the whole thing was a mess. It was an absolute train wreck, just like Robert Pearson says there in chat.
Yeah, I see that. Yep. Yeah, kind of like this article. It's kind of a mess. I mean,
yeah, it is. So, did you see The Rise of Skywalker in theaters, or were you stationed wherever? Were you out where you're at right now?
No, I was actually. Me and my wife actually went back home. Was able to go back home on leave, and we went to watch Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. And wasn't that many people in there, which was interesting. And we got through it. I mean, there's some legitimately good scenes in there where they could have went somewhere. But there were so many dropped plot points. Like when Finn they were sliding through the quicksand in the desert. He's like, Ray, I want to tell you something, and they just dropped it.
The whole entire time, like they never went back. You never know what he was gonna say.
And also, I mean, like wasted characters. You got to remember, this is the first time they all were together in like one group.
Yeah.
The first two, they were not together. And to me, the biggest wasted character is Finn. There was so much they could have talked about with him being a stormtrooper and then deciding to go against it. And obviously he must be force sensitive because, when you look at the Rise or the Force Awakens, when Kylo looks over there and sees him, they kind of lead that whole deal that Finn is probably force sensitive, right?
Yeah.
And they even talk about it in here. And it's like, they probably filmed it and they just cut it out. I mean, a lot of this movie is like, wait a second, I'm sure they either shot the scene and either forgot or they just shot it and didn't include it, because there's a lot of like exposition in there. Like when Poe is talking to the female on that planet, there's this whole backstory of him being like a spice hauler or whatever. And then just they drop it and then, here's your get on the Star Destroyer free card. That wasn't really explained. So, I mean, it was just so incoherent. Incoherent.
And the thing is, those when they were on that Star Destroyer on those horses, and they were like, okay, they don't have speeders. Like, okay, flip this Star Destroyer sideways.
Yeah,
like, it would have been so easy.
Oh no. But Nick, you forgot. Nick, wait a second. They didn't know which way was up.
Oh yeah,
you forgot. They didn't know which way was up. So, which is just that was in the movie. I can't believe it. When Poe Poe is like, oh, they don't know which way is up. I'm like, it has windows.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the Navy. Okay, we kind of know which way is up when we're, the guys on the bridge know which way is up. I'm sorry that's just like, it just makes it seem like, the Last Order or the Final Order or whatever they call themselves were fairly incompetent. But
yeah,
and that's another thing. I mean, you talk about world building, and I'm going to reference A New Hope a lot because that's really my forte. But you knew who the bad guys were. You didn't need to have a lot of exposition. The Empire was there. They were bad.
Yep.
They were very organized. They were very organized, just like a military. And this sequel stuff, it's just like like Hux was a great character in The Force Awakens, and then Ryan just ruined him. Him. And then he was in The Rise of Skywalker, he was quote unquote a spy, and they kill him off. And I was listening to Mahler's Rise of Skywalker and Unbridled Rage video, and it's like
so good.
That was so good. But like the Hux character was killed off, and basically the gentleman they replaced him with was just basically his character, how his character should have been. Right. Because in The Force Awakens, he's just like Tarkin was with Vader in A New Hope. I mean, there was probably a little bit more tension there because, in A New Hope, Vader was pretty much beholden to Tarkin, if you look at it.
Yeah, he was kind of like the sidekick.
Right. And I mean, if you look at the screen time Vader has in A New Hope, there isn't a lot of screen time with him. Mm-mm. And of course, because he survived and, it was such a cultural phenomenon, most recognized, bad guy in the cinematic history, and of course, they resell it with Empire Strikes Back. But in that original New Hope, Vader was beholden to Tarkin. And they could have had such a great setup with this between Kylo Ren and Hux, and they just let it go.
Yeah, the Vader you get in A New Hope and the Vader you get in Empire is like two totally different Vaders.
No, totally, exactly. It's totally,
Yeah.
He's the man in charge. He doesn't tolerate failure. So.
Yeah, not at all. And it was something I thought about when you were talking earlier. One thing that we never got a good space battle scene. That one in The Last Jedi at the very beginning does not count for me.
There's so much just wrong with that. I mean, I get it. It's a movie. But you're in space, and ships, when they stop, I guess, having propulsion, there's still momentum, and they just kind of fall off. Like, it's like a ship of sail. The engines run out, so now we're just drifting, and they get blown up. And the best part about that is how the rounds they were shooting at them are arcing, like they're heavy and have weight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that annoyed me in that was when they were shooting the resistant ships, and they were hitting shields. Like, you never saw that in Star Wars. Like, ships had shields, but it wasn't like the laser hit the shield and you saw it like you see in Star Trek or other movies like that. You don't see the actual shield around the ship like light up.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's a good point too. I never thought of that. That's actually good. And it's very Star Trek-y too.
Yeah. That was the only Star Wars movie that had that, to where it showed a bubble shield around the actual ship when the laser hit. You never saw that in any other Star Wars movies, which, me personally, still, Return of the Jedi is the best space battle of film history, in my opinion.
I agree.
I would love to see Lucasfilm go back to filming stuff using high quality detailed models.
Yes.
And not doing CGI. And filming it like the way they did in Jedi, but they could actually do it a lot better with today's technology.
Oh, most definitely.
Than they did then. The visuals with the models and everything would look tremendous. But when you watch those movies, even compared with the prequels, when you watch the original trilogy and you see these spaceships and these space battles, like, it looks real,
right?
Because it doesn't look computer generated.
No, because they were using practical effects. It looks like the models have weight to them, whereas all the CGI stuff is it's almost too clean.
Yeah,
it's almost too perfect.
like I've gone back and watched, I watched the Harmony Despecialized Edition original trilogy at this point, and a lot of those scenes, with the space battles where they put CGI in there. When you go back and watch the other ones, like it just looks more real.
Exactly.
Like than the CGI stuff that they put in there. Not saying the CGI stuff didn't look good. It looked good, but it didn't look real.
Well, the appeal to the original trilogy is because the universe looked lived in.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, when you're 7 years old and you're in that theater, and it's like nothing you've ever seen. It looked used. I mean, even though like those, we always make fun of the clean white guys, the clean white stormtroopers. When we first see the sand troopers, man, they look like they've been out like working, patrolling the desert.
Yeah.
And the whole universe just looked like it's been there. And I think that was the biggest draw to the original trilogy, or at least A New Hope, was the fact it wasn't like everything was clean. Like pretty much everything up to that point, as far as movies, everything, the view of science fiction was all clean, pristine. And then we get thrown into this where, hey, these guys are, they don't look like ray guns. They're, converted, Sterling Mark IVs and MG42s. And it just looked so visceral. Yeah, it was just amazing.
And everything looked like when you watched it, it all looked like everything had history to it.
Yes.
Which
and that's the thing, awesome. So I mean, you look at my avatar, right? My helmet, for instance, is based off the Stop That Ship Trooper, and we know it was that guy because when they made the cast, there were some cracks in the helmet which they either patched, and those helmets weren't originally white anyway. They were kind of a khaki color because of the casting they had to use and the type of plastic they had to use. They actually used just latex house paint, but they left all that streaks and runs in there that just made it look so like, hey, this guy's been out doing some stuff, and that was, quite the appeal. Whereas the new stuff, it just looks so clean. It's just amazing. It's just clean. I don't know, too clean.
Yeah. Real quick, Robert Pearson says, "Didn't you like the Emperor taking out 10,000 ships with his lightning in the Rise of Skywalker?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was. I was just like, really, and it was like he just disabled them for a moment. Because they all came back and started flying again.
Well, I mean, he disabled the like NPC characters, but the ones we cared about, they came back. And and what's funny about that whole scene is that didn't Rey do what he asked him to do? Like, if you kill me, I will just inhabit you. And she does that. And no, I guess nope, that didn't happen. Or maybe it did happen, and we just don't know. Maybe Rey is Palpatine and stealing Skywalker's name. I knew some friends in the 501st. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names. They threw their popcorn at the screen when she said her name was Rey Skywalker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting there when that happened, which I read all the leaks. I knew it was coming before I ever even saw it.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I did too. Yeah, I read all the links as well.
Yeah, I mean, after watching The Last Jedi, I literally cared nothing about going into Rise of Skywalker blinded, by what they're going to throw. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know everything about that movie before I went into it. And then when I heard she takes Luke's name, I'm like, what? And she's a Palpatine?
I know, right?
And she takes Luke's name at the end? Like, oh, God, this is so dumb.
There's really nowhere to go with this, the Skywalker trilogy, unless they just retcon it somehow, some way. There's just nowhere to go. I mean,
in the way they did this sequel trilogy, it turns it more into like the Palpatine saga.
Oh, it totally does. It totally, totally just does away with, Anakin's sacrifice.
Yeah.
I mean, the Emperor, he just does away with his sacrifice. So it's just, they just retconned all that, and nowhere else to go. And in the Last Jedi, I tell Coach this all the time when I've spoken with him, and I'm sure Chat can agree. I just really feel sorry for Mark Hamill and the way they treated Luke Skywalker.
I mean, he being a champion about this though, isn't he being like a stand-up champion guy about this shit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's pissed, but the thing is, he's probably at the point where he's like, what can I do about it?
Yeah,
so,
I mean. What more can he do? I mean, he had his little stab, in the Rise of Skywalker, where he catches that lightsaber. You should have more respect, for this weapon. And a lot of people, when I was in the theater, the many people that were there with me, we all cheered. It was so funny.
Oh, look, he caught a lightsaber! Yay!
Well, no, that's what he said afterwards. But Jedi should have more respect for his weapon. And we're all like,
they should have let him write the script, because if you actually add up all the little snippets of shit he said here, there, and everywhere, he really had some really great ideas. I think. Don't you guys think?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's so sad because when you watch it, the interviews for The Last Jedi, and I know I keep going back to that, he was basically trying to tell Ryan, like, hey, what are you doing? They just didn't care. And in the interviews, he kind of makes these little quips, but they just kind of put him back in his place, and he just looks so sad. I mean, it's just so sad. And he's such a great person with the fans. He's such a fans fan, man. I mean, and he was at Comic-Con the last couple of years, disguised as like a First Order stormtrooper.
He's still misguided with his
I
politics.
remember seeing that.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see him when I was there because he was there the same year I was doing my thing as a part of the 501st. But
were you in Chicago?
No, I was in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did the last two Comic-Cons, which were just totally amazing. Totally amazing. It's such a sensory overload if you've never been to anything that insane.
Yeah, I went to Celebration in Chicago last year, but I've never been to Comic-Con. I would definitely like to go. Did you do the meetup out there with Gary and?
No. So just to tell you how it goes with 501st, we go there and I go there and basically work I stand around a lot of the Lucasfilm booths, like Hallmark and Gentle Giant and stuff, to provide photo opportunities for people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm there just trooping around. It's actually kind of we're there as some member of the 501st to promote Lucas properties. So no, I did not. I knew it was going on, but I was so committed to other venues that I just couldn't break away. And, I kept an eye out for him, but I didn't get a chance to see him.
Yeah.
So. But again, if you ever get a chance, if they ever bring it back, I mean, obviously it's canceled for this year. We're hoping, everybody's hoping, and Celebration, we're still not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't think they've made an official announcement on Celebration yet.
They haven't.
No, they have not.
Because I got tickets. Remember, bro?
Yeah.
So, let's turn the ticket to. Did you guys see the conversation that Jeremy had with that screenwriter from Hollywood, the guy who's been a screenwriter for 20 years? Did you guys see that?
No, I did not. No.
All right. Well, we'll chit-chat about something else. I want to bring it up, and there's a couple quotes that I'd love to get your reaction to. I'd love to get your reaction to this.
Okay.
And they're Last Jedi related. And then I want to go talk about the 51st. I want to talk about your armor. And then I want to, circle back, talk about your personal experiences, when you saw the movie and, like that kind of stuff. I think what we're going to do with this thing here, you're such a rich person to have. If, like Coach said, I think we'd like to have you here tonight and next week. And here's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is, because of the algorithm and we're having so many problems with the streaming channels. And by the way, everybody is. I mean, I remember, was it last week, Nick, or the week before, when Neurotic, I think, and then like Doomcock and someone else, it was Midnight said all three of their streams got killed like midstream, just randomly.
Yeah, they're having a lot of YouTube is really cracking down on this small content, creators apparently, and the algorithms changed too. Hey, Mixing Ironman, 1 minute. Robert Pearson's got a question for me. So, quick question about the 501st. How many sequel trilogy costumers have Joan that you know of? Actually, quite a few.
Yeah, let's jump into that. Well, let's talk about that, and then I'll set up the commentary about the screenwriter wall. Let's jump into that now, because I think I can tell you, like, for myself, I've heard of you guys. It's almost like you guys are like. It's almost like, I'm sure you've heard this before. It's almost like we know you exist, but you're almost like legends, like a mythos. Like, we know you exist, but I've never met any one of you. But there's a bunch of you guys, but yet. It's almost like a Navy SEAL kind of thing. Like, we know they exist. I've just never met one.
Right. and
or
it's
intelligence
funny-
agents, or even like even people in the Navy. Like I'm like, we know you guys exist, we just never met one, and now you're here. I'm like, what do we ask? So give us an overview. Like maybe if you can sort of starting with Robert's questions, give us like a brief little overview of like because I know there's probably like facts and like legend and shit that people say that's just not even true. But
okay, all right. Well, let me again, Robert Pierce. Let me answer his question. We have a lot of people who cosplay Ray, and really very good actually. And there's probably a lot less sequel trilogy 501st costumers. I gotta be kind of careful how I answer this. I mean, we have a lot of guys that do the First Order TKs, but you're probably going to see more OT and Legends characters as opposed to some of the sequel trilogy characters, if that makes sense. And then, and I've got a lot of friends who are also in the Astromech community. Actually, one of my best friends here it's part of the droid builders group. So, but there's probably a lot less sequel trilogy cosplayers than there are.
Yeah, but let's talk specifically about you guys, your group. I mean, because you're the ones who I've heard that like you guys go to children's hospitals.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. Let's talk about you guys.
All right, well, I'll just dive into it. So, just like you said, Medics and Ironman, I knew of the 501st, and I had seen them, and really didn't know where to get started. And I was able to, I guess, come in due to an inheritance. I inherited some money, and I don't want to give away I love my Star Wars or my love for Star Wars bit, but I was able to acquire a suit and build it. And part of joining the 501st is you have to handcraft your suit to very exacting standards. And by exacting standards, we follow what's called a costume reference library. Mm-hmm. That if it was in the film, it has to be on there. And especially with my character being like a face character, Sand Troopers, very recognizable. There are things about that suit that are different than the stormtroopers that were filmed on the Death Star, or even the ones that attacked the Tantive V, right? Mm-hmm. The Sand Troopers are actually the very first production shots for Star Wars. So when they shipped that armor to Tunisia, it was all like, how does this go type stuff. And there's things about my suit that are different, like the knee plate, the sniper plate is a diamond shape. My ab buttons there's only 3 and they're not colored. And, that's one of the biggest differences between the two. But I was able to craft my suit. It's, strapping it's not movie accurate strapping, but it's very close. And you have to submit a package. Basically, I created the suit, had to have some pictures taken. Then we have an individual with each of the 501st, which are broken into garrisons. They kind of followed the Roman,
the Roman Legion organization.
Roman Legion, yep. They did the Roman Legion naming conventions to where we're a legion, then we have garrisons, and then squads. And I'm actually part of the San Diego Imperial Sands Garrison Squadron, which is San Diego County and Imperial County here in California. And
so only you guys would really know if someone else is legit, like if they said, what I mean, like because I've heard there's a lot of fakers too.
Yeah, it's surprising. Since I built my suit, I can tell if it's like a fan built or a store bought kit. Like for instance, the unfortunate young woman who was arrested in Canada. I think that is like a store bought kit, and there's things about it you can see and kind of tell. Mainly, it's the helmet.
You're kidding? From like 100 yards away, across the street, across the parking lot, you could tell that was the store built suit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, wow. It looked like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny, because you start building it and you learn the lore of how the suits were created, and it was like seriously like they were all hand sculpted, hand cast. And once you learn all that, you can pick out, and even between the films, the suits are different.
Why is it some guys is like they seem like theirs is more like kind of a plastic or some kind of like composite, and other guys is more metal? I've seen those like when I've been at shows and stuff.
So you're talking about stormtroopers in general, or just okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, my suit is ABS plastic, and you can if I didn't weather it, it's pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy white and shiny. And then of course, Sand Trooper's part of the being able to be a Sand Trooper, you have to have all your stuff weathered, which I've been downrange, served a time in Iraq. So of course, I want to be a Sand Trooper, plus all the pouches in the backpack is totally crazy cool. So my suit again it's a fan cast. It was made by a gentleman, Affordable Trooper Armor, and my suit lineage is we believe it's a Return of the Jedi suit with a New Hope helmet. And the reason we know this is because my forearms, one's a little bit bigger than the other. And that was had to do when they were recasting and remolding the suits for Return of the Jedi. A couple of molds collapsed. And we know the helmets, if you ever watched Return of the Jedi, the helmets look a little thin. It's, again, because the mold they were using, the cast helmets collapsed, and they just went with what they had. Because very few suits survived A New Hope or Star Wars because, again, they didn't think they had a hit on their hands. So a lot of that stuff wound up in the dumpster in the back of Elstree Studios. I mean, seriously, it was crazy. A lot of people dug that out of trash, right? The helmet, I built my helmet to match what's called the Stop That Ship Troopers helmet. That was dug out of a dumpster in England, and that sold maybe 4 years ago for like, $250,000 on auction house.
Holy bananas!
Good Lord!
And I mean, none of the backpacks survived. The Sand Trooper backpacks; those were all reportioned for the Rebel Hoth troopers, and we know that because of the angle. They were actually called a Caramore frame. It was a Boy Scout backpack, and it's quite funny. I mean, if you read the book Stormtroopers, it goes into detail. And the detail is that George Lucas was like, "Hey, I want my these stormtroopers to look like they're ready to deploy or something of that nature."
Mm-hmm.
And so the costume designer is like, "Oh man, what do you mean?" So and George is like, "Backpack with lots of stuff on it." So the original Sand Trooper backpacks are like seed trays from a greenhouse. This is all English stuff too. Some crazy toilet part from a European toilet. A crazy 1970 radio, and they just literally duct tape, gaffers tape that stuff together. Because you got to remember, most of the stuff in the movies, it just needs to survive the shot, right? It's not designed to be worn.
You're authentic.
For a long
If it
time.
survives the shot, you're authentic. Is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, that's why, like on the first shots of the backpack, there's no like black tape, and then in the later shots, there's black tape just holding it together to get through the scene. And because it was in the movie. My backpack has to have the black tape holding it together.
Wow. So basically, the last time I heard of that kind of intensity is when my stepdad, my pop would talk to me about like some of the cases like where you like stolen the ribbons, like you can hit like it's almost like said you might have a slight debate about whether boots are accurate, but there's never a question as to how the ribbons get laid out.
Well, you have to kind of know. You have to kind of know that. Again, I'm in the military, and that's kind of a thing. You can actually look at a person and tell their service by their ribbon rack and where they've been. And it's you can quickly point out what's not supposed to be there. That's just how a lot of those guys get caught. The stolen valor guys.
Yeah. Okay. So that explains how you got your suit and how did you connected through them? How did you get into the group? Like how did you get?
Okay, so that's a good question. I had a friend introduce me, basically sponsored me into the group. I actually got a mentor to help me figure out how to build the armor, because when the armor comes to you, it's just a bunch of white plastic that's been vacuum formed, and you have to cut it, trim it, strap it, and there's like several online forums. You start at the 501st.com, and then they direct you to the costume reference library. So you pick a costume, and there's several thousand costumes. And then from there, there's other forums, whether it's I belong to what's called Moss Isley Police Department or MEPD.net. And there's people on there that, hey, you let them know I'm building this and can you help me out? And they kind of either give you tips. And then I had a mentor that actually sit down with me and show me how to get started. And that's how you do it. It's quite overwhelming. You lay all that white plastic out and you're just like, wow, I don't even know where to begin. And I just, as Yoda says, do or do not, try or try not. And I just went at it. And there you go.
Huh. So then you go through that process. At what point are you allowed to be out in public?
Okay. So after you're approved, I had that thing done probably for a couple of weeks before, I sent my, my pictures in and they were reviewed by one of the people that probably know more about the suits than I do. And it passed. I didn't have to do any rework. And once you are approved, you're allowed to troop in public. because they're very. I mean, even though the 501st is, we're kind of a private organization. Lucas Films is very much aware. I mean, we have a liaison with Lucasfilms, believe it or not, and there are some things we are allowed to do and not. As far as like, because we are, even though they own like the copyrights to all those, they allow us to troop in that and have those costumes.
I got a question. Has the 501st had to deal with any changes with what they can and can't do since Disney bought Lucasfilm?
Mainly logo usage. That's probably the safest answer I can give you as far as because we do a lot of like logo issues, like the Imperial Cog, all that stuff that is now like under Disney properties. You gotta be careful doing that as a group, I guess, without permission. I mean, like I said, we had a liaison with Lucasfilm and Disney, and we have to sometimes petition them or show them, hey, we're going to do this, and they review it because you don't want to do anything that would be bring harm to the brand, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right.
Bro, but you're describing an adherence and a faith to the brand and its history and its integrity more so that any of these yo-yos even know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, that's why it saddens me. And I'm not gonna lie, it saddens me because, like I said, at the first, that original Star Wars film just brought so many people together because we didn't care about race or politics or religion. It was just Star Wars.
Right.
And then when you start injecting like woke politics in there, it creates a divide. And we saw that with The Last Jedi, how it so divided the fan base. And I'm not, I just, it's like talking politics and religion with your family. I just don't talk about The Last Jedi with some of my 501st friends because I just don't want to go there. And I love them all to death. And I know they love me too, but there's just some things you don't talk about,
Are they more younger types or older types or whatever type? I mean, what kind of...
So I'm going to share a story, right? So the story goes when they were in the Rose Parade a few years back, I think, and George Lucas was there. And one of the commentators had mentioned like, hey, these are a bunch of guys that just live in their mom's basement or something words to that effect. And there was an individual who happens to be a brain surgeon who was a member of the 501st who took offense to that. And I will tell you that just like some like Harley Davidson guys, there are people that do this because it's not cheap. I'm not gonna lie. I've probably got close
it's not like you've already I mean, just getting up and running may cost you 10 to 20 grand.
No, it's not that much. All told with everything I have in my suits, probably close to 2,500. And that's I have the voice boxes, all the electronic packages, the blasters, the backpack, and all that. Yeah, and there's some suits like the Boba Fett suit is probably the most expensive just because of all the greeblies that are on it. It's probably the most expensive suit that, and the Vader suits can just get astronomical. I mean, that thing is just insane. But some of the people I know that do this with me, I mean, they're like, very established people in the community. Let's say that they're not. I mean, gone are the days from the comic book fan or even the science fiction fan, like living in their mom's basement. I think when I first got into the 501st, I'm a SHOT Show kind of guy. I've been in the military now for almost 18 years, and wow. I'm a gun guy, all that, and I didn't know what to expect with the 501st, other than that they were super welcoming. And when I did that first Comic-Con in 2018, I didn't know what to expect, and it sure blew my mind. I mean, I went there just to have fun. And my suit got featured all over. I was in several internet articles. I was interviewed from a company from England. I was just all over the place. And I just put my heart into it because I really enjoy Star Wars, and I put a lot of, a lot more time in it than they did in the sequel trilogy, apparently, and was very welcome from the fans. And it's such a all-inclusive community, because you don't know who's under the helmet. I mean, it can be, a female, a male. Nobody cares. We're all just one family. We get out there, we have fun, we put smiles on people's faces.
When you guys show up to an event, you might just show up already fully, dressed and all that stuff. You literally don't know who's next to you.
That's not, no. When we get together and dress. So the funny thing about the original suits is you can't sit down. I cannot sit down in that thing.
At all?
No, because of the way it was originally built. And if you look back at the New Hope, the way Han Solo or Harrison Ford sits down, he doesn't really sit down. He kind of falls down into that. But they had to like create like sawhorses for them to relax because the way the suits are made, you can't sit down. It's kind of an ongoing joke in the Sand Troopers, like when they're like they're around the escape pod, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that guy comes up and says, "Look, sir, droids," and we all laugh. Like, how do you bend over and pick that up? Because there's just no bend over picking things up.
So your movability in that thing is like pretty limited.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I have very good mobility. You got to remember, I'm in the military, so I'm kind of used to wearing body armor.
Yeah.
And because you build it yourself, I made that suit where I can move. I can't sit down, but I have very good mobility. And then with the helmet on, though, I have really good peripheral vision. But if you get like a foot in front of me, I have no clue you're there. That's why we have other people that are called handlers.
Mm-hmm.
That are generally either unmasked characters like Imperial officers. Because if I'm not paying attention, I can accidentally step on somebody. Because little kids just run up to you and just like they want to touch you and hug you and all kinds of stuff. And we have to be kind of careful about that. So vision is terrible. Yes, Robert Pearson. The vision, down is bad, but again, my peripheral's pretty good. And everything's a shade of green too.
So now listen. Were you gonna say something, Nick?
Yeah. What's the most expensive suit between the trooper suits between the AT-AT driver, TIE fighter pilot, snow trooper, scout trooper, storm trooper? Between the troopers there, what's the most expensive one to get into as far as those suits go? Do you know?
I can't give you a definite answer on that. I know they're going to range. I mean, depending on who you get it from. And again, it's all like a sub community.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff is done by the fans for the fans. I'd have to say maybe the First Order TK, or no, I'm gonna take that back. The Sith Trooper. I mean, there are guys that are casting that. So they had that at last year's Comic-Con. Anuvos had one, which is a company that produces a lot of like costuming for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing was insane. I mean, it's almost like an ongoing joke in the 501st is we think sometimes the costume designers with Lucasfilms just do things to give us a hard way to go.
Right.
Because, I mean, some of this stuff is so esoteric. Like, for instance, on my helmet, they call them Hovey mics. And we think they're from an aerator that was found, somewhere over in England.
Mm-hmm.
That, it's just funny little things like that. Like, where in the world did they get this stuff? And somebody you can't even find it anymore because it was just so. But I'd have to maybe say the Sith Trooper just because of the way the armor is. It's got a lot of ridges and cuts in it, which I imagine would be very hard to cast.
Have you seen anybody in an AT-AT driver suit?
Yes, I have some pictures with me and a friend from my garrison that's in an AT-AT.
That is his favorite thing in the entire freaking Star Wars lore. Like that little AT-AT.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures. I'll send you some pictures, Nick. Yeah, I have several friends that have AT-AT drivers.
Yeah, I just saw Robert Pearson. He said the same thing I was thinking just a little bit ago. I don't think I've seen anyone in a AT-AT driver suit.
Yeah, I've got pictures with a few guys that do that.
Huh. Awesome. Yeah, I really like the TIE
buy
fighter.
your own suit. Build your own suit, Nick.
Well, maybe if I get my income tax returns.
So most people don't.
Government people.
So most people don't start out with the armor. Believe it or not, they do like a soft suit, like a TIE pilot or a bridge crew. They're like basically just a black jumpsuit with some greeblies, and then kind of go their way up. Because it's an easy way to get started. The armor is such a commitment, And again, I probably wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had the the inheritance and just went at it. But a lot of people, because it's intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. You get all that stuff there, and you're just like, because. So here's a fun fact, right? From start to finish on my suit took a month, and apparently that's some kind of record because I've got friends in the 501st that are still building their suits, and they've had it for like 2 or 3 years because it's
wow.
You just gotta kind of go at it. And snow troopers do look good up close too. I have a few friends. I've got a great picture with it's funny. It's me, a snow trooper, and some scout troopers. We did a charity event here in San Diego. I think it was a suicide awareness walk, and there's a really great picture of us. And where we have all three of those guys, and it looks really sharp.
Yeah, I saw the convention me and Coach went to up in Franklin, Tennessee. There's a snow trooper there that looked really good.
Yeah, and most of those guys
So-
are guaranteed they're going to be 501st because again, it's and I hate to say this, but we've been referred to as like costuming snobs, which I think is really bad because I've had people come up to me like there was a young gentleman, right? He did a stormtrooper out of cardboard. And this thing looked amazing. It's like
Wow,
what?
out of cardboard?
Like he literally took cardboard, formed it, and it looked as good as mine. I'm not gonna lie. And so yeah, and and that's the thing. You get so many young kids that there's a surprising amount of young kids that know what I am. They always can say to me like, "You look like my Black Series stormtrooper I have," and I do. I've been told that my suit looks like the Black Series sand trooper. And the funny thing is, it's their parents that have got them into it because their parents will come up to me, like, "Hey, my son really wants a picture. Hey, I saw Star Wars, and I've got him into it." So I know, Nick, you've kind of talked about this in other shows. Where are the OT fans? They're out there, man. They are definitely out there because I hear that so much that I have grandparents that come up to me like, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" Because I showed my grandson or my grandkids, the original Star Wars, and they think this would be so awesome. And I have a lot of pictures taken with like that along those lines. So the OT fans are out there. I mean, sometimes it feels like they're not, but they are. And a lot of
let's shift gears and talk about some of the events you've done and some of the more maybe some interesting, meaningful types of events you've been a part of. I don't know.
Okay.
Worst, I don't know.
Yeah, Robert Patterson. Yeah, that's correct. They're not snobs. They have standards. We have very, very high standards. But to get back to your question, so I've been in the 501st for 2 years now. You start off, you do troops. My very first troop was the Naval Hospital Balboa in San Diego, and those are probably the most rewarding. We had a Darth Vader, and you walk in there, and those kids' faces it's really hard to describe. And I know when you guys on your intro on why we love Star Wars, I always wonder who those guys might have been, and they were definitely 501st. It's amazing, the nurses, but the young kids you just make their day. I can't even describe it. They'll come up to you, and it's just like, and I mean, young kids, they've obviously seen The New Hope or they've seen Star Wars, and they know what you are. They just, you're like a movie come to life, and I can tell you that's the most rewarding thing. But to get back to what you were asking, Ironman, I've actually had pictures taken with some, I guess, famous people. Claudia Christensen, she was on Babylon 5. And I got to meet her. I got to meet her at a local convention in San Diego. Wow. And the funny thing about these actors is, I think they're more excited to see me than I am to see them. And that's so funny. So I was able to get a picture with her, which was pretty cool. And I also got to meet what's that guy's name? He's the Maytag guy. He was in that show Eureka on Sci-Fi. What's that guy's name? I got to. What's his name? Name escapes me. Maybe Chad can help me out here, but I got to meet him, and they were doing a Eureka panel, and I just went up to say, "Hey, I'm a great fan of your work."
Colin Ferguson.
Colin Ferguson, yes. Yeah. You would have thought that I was the celebrity because I went up to him. I just it's being very nice because you got to be careful. Like we don't want to I'm not going up there because hey. I'm in the 501st. Can I get a picture? It's not like that. I was very, I'm very sincere. I went up to him. I just want to let you know, sir, that you are awesome. I love your work. And you would have thought I was a celebrity. I was able to get a picture of him shaking my hand by one of his co-stars, and it was. And I saw him out, and they sent it to me, and that was so cool. And it was that was pretty cool. And then I did get to meet Ray Carson, which is a funny story. If we have time.
Yeah.
All right. Go. So I'm at Comic-Con. It's my first Comic-Con in 2018, and I'm at the Hallmark booth. And because I didn't realize Disney owned so much stuff like that. So I'm there at the Hallmark booth. They got their Christmas ornaments, their Star Wars thing coming out for the next year. And the Comic-Con is just an insane product thing with what's coming out. So I'm sitting there doing my thing, and this lady comes up to me and she goes, "I need you to come with me right now." And I'm like, "Who are you?" She goes, "I'm with Lucasfilms, and you're a stormtrooper and you look cool, and I need you to come with me." So I'm like, well, they own the brand, so I guess I should go. So I go over there, and it's a book signing with Ray Carson, and she's doing the book signing for the solo tie-in book, Most Wanted. So I go over there, and I got to pretend like I was putting her under arrest, and we did some bantering back and forth, and she actually signed a copy for me, and I got pictures. And I didn't realize that was a big deal, right? So I go back, and I'm doing my thing, and I tell the guys, my 501st friends, like, "Hey, this is what happened." And they flipped out. They're like, "Are you serious?" They go, did they ask for your email address and your name? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they even gave me a card. And so the lady that came and got me was the go-getter, the gopher for the actual, I think she was head of Lucasfilm marketing that brought me over. So I was able to, they have my name. So apparently, again, I didn't know this at the time, because of the way my suit looks and because it's such a high standard, that whenever they have like red carpet premieres, there's a chance that I could be invited to be on a red carpet for like a movie. Like that's why I'm kind of hoping they make the Ben Kenobi movie.
Yeah.
And if it's on Tatooine, I might get a call to say, hey, can you come to LA and stand on a red carpet type thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd like to see Ray Carson and Timothy Zahn team up to do a trilogy, to write outline.
Yeah, probably want to be I think even better would be Karen Travis and with Timothy Zahn. No, I'm kind of a big fan of the Clone Troopers type stuff that Karen Travis has written for or did write for.
I haven't read any of her stuff before.
The Republic Commando series, very highly recommended.
I played the game and I loved the game Republic Commando.
Well, and the thing that's really good about that series is that Karen Travis actually was in the British military and had some people that were actually had done some stuff, help her describe some of the scenes. And it's very well written, from like a tactical standpoint, which is kind of funny coming from a guy. And it's very well written.
So she didn't need to include like safe space or...
No, there was no safe space or Snowflake in these.
Oh, okay.
They were very visceral. But that's probably my biggest, Star Wars story as far as being at Comic-Con was that. So, and I didn't realize how much of a uproar my suit was going to cause. It's been quite entertaining. I know I sound like I'm sorry. I'm talking about myself a lot, but I mean,
well, that's why you're here.
Yeah,
well, I know, but
we like hearing this stuff.
That's why
and then I saw in the chat, what's her name? Let me go back up here. Lori Roberts, right? She said she was at the meetup, and if she came into Comic-Con and walked up the escalator, she probably saw me. I mean, because they stuck me there to help tell the crowds to move along. Man, I must have said move along like 1,000 times. It was crazy.
Have you seen the outfits inside Disneyland at Galaxy's Edge?
Yes. So I was actually able to make my way to Galaxy's Edge, and I will tell you, it's impressive. I'm not going to lie. It's impressive. I think if they'd have went with the original, like, hey, let's make it, Docking Bay 94, it would have been that much more impressive.
Wow.
But I could just go there and sit. I mean, the ambience, I mean, for everything Disney is, I will say they did a really good job. With the yes, that was you. Yeah, cool.
Edge?
You're in Disneyland, or I can't remember. Again, I'm not from California originally, but you're there, and you walk at a certain point. You walk there, and you're not on Earth anymore. The way the sound designers for how they did the ambient sounds there, you're just not on Earth anymore.
It's Florida. Wait, are you talking about Florida or LA?
No, I'm talking about the LA one.
Bro, you must have been on I don't know. Were you there for a special event?
No, I just went there.
It's weird because when I went in, I did the video for Doomcock. There's a video of me analyzing Galaxy's Edge for Doomcock. He sent me in,
right?
And there was no music, there's no recordings. It was the weekend of July 13th last summer, and here's the other thing too that I like about Galaxy's Edge. If you're at Galaxy's Edge, right? How come 95 to 99% of everybody that you see is a human? Like if you're at Galaxy's Edge, you would have the most diverse in terms of creatures and taking your money at each of the shops and walking around. There was none of that. Imagine, and so the reason I hated it is imagine going into where the castle is, or over by New Orleans Square, and you're going into the haunted house and no one's dressed up or something like that. And so maybe it's easy to lose track of that kind of shit, but literally, if you weren't a stormtrooper, you weren't Darth Vader walking around or Leia walking around. Everybody else is a human. That makes no sense if you're at a planet at Galaxy's Edge.
Well, you're correct. It doesn't make sense. However, if you're trying to, do customer service, a lot of the times if you're dressing up, you don't have a lot of mobility, and some of the suits are hotter than others. I get to ask that question a lot, actually.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. When Darth Vader walked around, I had just walked out of the build your own lightsaber thingy. I just built my own lightsaber. Coming out of there, feeling like as out of shape as I am, I felt ready to take on, Darth Maul, right? Because
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I just spent $200. This $200 lightsaber and my Mexican taco ass will defeat Darth Maul on any given Sunday. I
Right.
walk out of there. I turn left. I run into 2 stormtroopers and Darth Vader, and I get like patted down like as if ice just found a Mexican, outside the border.
That's terrible.
Move along. Let me see this product. They
right.
took my lightsaber. They escorted me. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I know, right? I'd have to say maybe some of the suits are harder than others. Like when we troop, we try to bring a couple of Darth Vaders depending on the event, because that suit is it's all leather, it's heavy, it's hot. I know a lot of my friends that do cosplay as Darth Vader. They wear cooling vests, and they're only good for about an hour because it's a black hot suit. And you're in San Diego, and it's we got to kind of watch out for each other. But I get asked that question a lot, like, "Hey, is that suit really hot?" And the stormtroopers, they're not that bad. There's enough gaps in the armor that air can get through. And I've got a whole electronic fan kit in my helmet. Like it's almost like I wish I had that in Iraq. That's what my joke is. I have fans in there. I got a communications kit to where I sound like the stormtroopers. And I've even learned to fall asleep in that crazy suit.
No way.
What, standing up?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I'm in the military, right? And so when you're downrange and you're wearing 85 pounds of crazy armor, you learn how to use the restroom. You had to plan that out, right? And then with the suit, it's the same thing. I just can't get out of that suit at any given time, and you have to kind of monitor your intake of fluids and how much you're sweating, right? So at Comic-Con, and this is my first one, right? I put my helmet on at 04 in the morning because I had to do a Fox and Friends. I wanted going to do a Fox and Friends special, local San Diego. And I did not take that helmet off till about 18 or 6 o'clock in the evening.
Oh wow!
And I learned to so when I was doing the Kotobukiya, one of the things, I figure if people want a picture of me, they'll just take a picture with me, or they'll knock on my chest or ask for a picture. And I just leaned back against the thing and got in a good stance, and I fell asleep for maybe 20 or 30 minutes.
Wow!
Because you get those fans going in there, and it's quite hypnotic.
The dark side of the force is strong with you.
Everybody, they call me I'm like the high endurance trooper. Everybody knows when I show up, I'm going to be in that thing for a minute. And it was I think 16 plus hours.
Wow. How neat. Neat.
But it was so funny.
Go ahead.
It's so funny. I mean, I was standing there, and people come up and it's a statue, or it's not a statue, and you gotta be careful because I try not to scare people, but if I'm sitting there resting and people come up to me and tap me on the chest, I wake up and I go, "Hey, can I help you?" And they just, "Oh my gosh, that's a real person."
For all we talk about Star Wars dying or being under assault or this and that, you look at your community and it's vibrant, right? It's as vibrant as ever, right? Or not so much.
Again, I'm not really going to get into it. I mean, we have internal politics just like any other organization. And getting back to, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a lightsaber guy. I collect lightsabers.
Okay, yeah, I got a lot of
friends.
I don't
have a shitload of them, but I got a good solid collection, and spans the gamut of stuff for kids and the more custom stuff. My most expensive lightsaber is for about $800.
Yeah.
So in our community, all we care about are lightsabers.
Right. Yeah. There's a group called the Saber Guild, and they're generally all the Jedis, and they really care a lot about that. There's a lot that goes into that. But to get back, I can't really stress how much The Last Jedi was divisive, and probably amongst even within in our group. I'm trying to be real politically correct, because I really love my guys in my group, but I can't underscore enough how divisive that movie was. It's either love it or hate it type thing, and it really split the fan base in a way that unless you're in that community, I guess. I mean, I get it. There's people that are diehard fans, and then there's us who are super, and we spend a lot of time invested, to get into character, to be, I got guys. There's a gentleman I know who he is Luke Skywalker, and he dresses up. He embodies that character just like I embody. Hey, the move along guy, and to be able to, I just can't really underscore how that Last Jedi divided the fan base.
Yeah, well, let me show you a couple of quotes real quick on the screen here. I'm going to share a screen, show you a couple of quotes about The Last Jedi here. This is a screenwriter. Here, hold on. Let me see here if I can do this right. Let's see here. Let's see. Share screen. We'll try to see if I can override what Coach did. Share computer sound. Share screen and sounds. Let's see if I can do this right here. No, wrong one. Hold Hold on. Let's try this one. Oh, hold on. I messed up here. Let's try this again. 80 grows.
Hey, Coach. Welcome back.
Hey.
Hey, Coach, I want to share my screen. Can you let me share my screen?
You have to do it through.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, we've been talking about 501st stuff, Coach. Trying to fill that time.
I was listening. I actually had to run out and leave. My mother-in-law's over here visiting, and her battery died. So I had to go help her get a new one.
Or help her move in. No?
No.
Help her move in? No?
Nah.
Oh, well, it's an option.
All right. But yeah, going back to Lori Roberts, hey, if you're still on, you remember what day you came? Because they had me up there at the top of that escalator pretty much every day, directing traffic. It was pretty funny. Once they found out that voice box had a really good amplification, they definitely stuck me up there to move people to get their badges. It was at the badge pickup. It was so much fun.
I'm trying to share screen, but it won't let me. Yes, I don't know why.
I mean, I had another funny story. Mexican Ironman was like, so again, I'm there at the Comic-Con. People keep coming up to me and asking me, "Hey, are you Harrison Ford, or are you Mark Hamill?" No, seriously, they were asking me, and I'm like, "Yes." I had like 6 or 7 people were asking me that. So I go back to because we have a booth, where we kind of promote the 501st. Right. And I was like, "Man, why is everybody asking me this?" Well, it turns out that as I was walking around the venue, an NBC staff photographer took a picture of me. And that wound up being their picture they used for their whole internet coverage of Comic-Con that year.
Oh, come on. Serious?
Well, yeah, I'll send you the pic. But one of the taglines was celebrities you didn't know were at Comic-Con. It's my crazy face all over it. So
of course, your reparations and commissions were what percent?
That's 0. We're nonprofit, my friend.
That'd be 0.
Yeah, I'll send it to Coach. I'll send it to Coach.
Do it.
I'm gonna send it to the Facebook chat, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, this is I'll even send you the link that the picture that they actually had the link on. It was so crazy.
Got it? Is it up? Yep. Nope.
Yeah.
What are you sending it to me on?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm sending it via Facebook chat. That's okay.
What's up, Geeks and Gamers?
It's on here
I got my
somewhere.
screen up that I want to share. Let me see how to share it. How do I share it?
Hollywood. He is a Hollywood elitist.
I don't know. It's probably on my end, Mike, where
All right, I just sent it to you, Coach. If you want, you can throw it up on screen if you want.
Okay.
So crazy.
Right, Coach, I'm sending it to you now. Well, it's to you, Coach, right? That's how it works?
There he is.
Oh, can't quite see it. Yeah. Yeah, everybody kept asking me about that. They were like, "Hey, how come you're getting?" I was asking everybody why I was asked, and that's me. It's so crazy. I even remember the staff photographer took it. He's like, "Hey, can I get your picture?" So I I got in my stance, and they got a picture, and that picture wound up getting used all over the internet that year.
That's awesome.
So crazy. The funny thing is my wife laughs all the time. She's like, she can't believe it either. It's like, that was never my intent to do this like that, but it was just like, wow, you kidding? You've got the pick. You got the pick with Colin Ferguson too. I see. Yeah, that was a funny one. I was telling them about. They asked me some of the famous people I've met, or most interesting pictures. Yeah, they're stealing my "Why I Love Star Wars" bit. Oh no.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I think I sent you that pic too, Coach. You can show that if you want. Me and Colin Ferguson. And it was so funny because they just thought I was the celebrity. It blew my mind. I had no idea. So Robert Pearson, did you ask for the photographer's identification? Most of the guys in Comic-Con, when they're there, like the staff photographers, they're all they have like press passes and stuff like that. I mean, I had my picture taken like probably thousands of people, thousands of times. Oh yeah, I mean, because you got to remember, I went and did. We're always doing the Lucasfilm thing, and it's there for like advertisement. So I did a lot of stuff with the Gentle Giant, You basically kind of sort of plug in their stuff. But yeah, I've had my picture taken probably thousands of times, and it's just fun, And the thing is, you got to really be you got to be really be in character. I mean, I've had people come up and ask me to do lewd things, which I just won't do. I mean, because you got to think, the amount of people. I mean, they love Star Wars, and you don't want to do anything. It's just like being in the military. You don't want to do anything that's going to bring discredit, to the brand. I mean, I hate to say it like that because it's kind of what it is.
But it is. It really
yeah,
is.
it is.
And if you guys don't hold the line of integrity, who will?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. What's his face, Mick? Whatnot. Yeah, that was me. That was me, and I think.
I'm having a hard time getting this link over. We'll have to do this maybe next weekend or something.
But yeah, it's funny because I had my picture taken a lot in 2018. But in 2019, I was all over the news. I mean, I had friends calling me up like, "Hey, we think we see you on Good Morning America," and so I looked and found it, and they did a thing on like, "Hey, weapons check during Comic-Con," and somehow I wound up on there, and they were showing pictures of my backpack and all that stuff. So yeah, I wound up in probably the craziest places.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, we're looking forward to getting much more of that story in the near future.
Yes, I won't spill all the beans.
Yeah, please don't. Because I'm looking forward to working on this as much as finding everything out. It's going to be enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Well, guys, unless y'all have anything else to add, we're going to go ahead and shut this thing down. I'm sorry that I had to run out and all that. I was not prepared for that. So thank you guys for keeping this going and everything while I was gone.
Oh, my pleasure.
The Amazon guy came by while you were here, so it's all good.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
I had an Amazon delivery. Nick, they delivered your shit to my place, so I'm resending it out to your place.
Oh, do that, yes.
The desk and the table, Nick?
Oh, well, he stepped away.
Oh, all right. I'll call him later.
So he's not here either.
Yeah. All right, TD.
TD, thank you so much for being on. Mike, thank you for co-hosting. And everybody, we're going to go ahead and shut this down. Thank y'all very much.
You're
Sorry
welcome.
for all the technical difficulties. Sorry for me being in and out. I hate that I wasn't as much a part of this as normal, but we will see y'all next time.
Woohoo!
Take care, everybody.